Ferrari showed their 2026 car today, but what they revealed wasn't just a design, it was a warning. Because while Mercedes and Red Bull are chasing power through loopholes, Ferrari didn't follow them. They built something cleaner, simpler, and possibly slower. The SF-26 isn't trying to win headlines. It's trying to survive what comes next. And if Ferrari is right, this may be the smartest move they've made in over a decade. But if they're wrong, this won't just be a failure. It'll be a collapse, built on trust in a system that may not protect them. It was quiet, deliberate, not the kind of launch that demands attention, but the kind that holds it. Because when Ferrari reveals a car, the silence means more than any slogan. On January 23rd, as the sun broke over Fiorano, there were no fireworks, no epic voiceovers, no choreographed countdowns. Just one red car rolling out of the garage, and two drivers who know what's at stake. Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari. For the first time. 3 careful laps, no pushing, just presence. And with every corner, the weight of that image settled in. This wasn't about performance. It was about showing the world that Ferrari is no longer waiting. Then came Leclerc, equally restrained, equally composed. It wasn't competitive, but it wasn't supposed to be. It was ritual, a passing of responsibility between generations, both committed to a car that may define their careers. The SF-26 didn't arrive in a cloud of hype. It arrived in silence, because this wasn't about convincing the media or the fans. It was about convincing themselves. This is the machine they've chosen to fight with. No hiding, no excuses. Everything is out in the open now. Even the location mattered. Fiorano isn't just a test track. It's Ferrari's backyard. Every corner lined with legacy. Every straight reminding them of who they're supposed to be. To debut a car here isn't routine, it's a declaration. This isn't a team chasing hope. It's a team demanding a result. And in that moment, without a single flying lap, Ferrari told the world exactly how serious 2026 has become. Not through pace, but through restraint. At first glance, the SF-26 almost looks unfinished. No bold shapes, no sweeping aerodynamic statements. Just smooth, clean surfaces like someone erased the flare on purpose. It's tighter, narrower. The side pods are symmetrical and compact. And while everyone else seems to be sculpting airflow with layers and channels, Ferrari chose to reduce, to strip things back, to show only what's essential. That alone feels like a message, because this car isn't trying to intimidate anyone in photos. It's not built to generate attention, it's built to deflect it, to keep its real story off the radar until it matters. Take the suspension, pushrod at the front and rear for the first time in over a decade. Not because it's fashionable, but because it gives Ferrari more control under braking and better integration with their new aero platform. It's a decision rooted in function, not headlines. Even the floor, often the most manipulated part of modern F1 cars, appears subdued, flat, conventional. But that doesn't mean it's simple. It just means Ferrari doesn't want you to see what it's really doing. At least not yet. And then there's the shark fin. Slim, almost hesitant. Compared to what Red Bull and Mercedes are rumored to be working on, it looks conservative, maybe even placeholder. Because what Ferrari showed us might not be what shows up in Bahrain. That's the thing. This entire launch spec feels temporary by design. It's not Ferrari's full hand. It's a distraction, a decoy, while the real performance hides in areas you can't analyze on a screen. So yes, it looks simple, but when Ferrari chooses simplicity on purpose, that's usually when they're at their most dangerous. If the outside of the SF-26 feels restrained, the engine choice explains why. Because this is where Ferrari made its most controversial decision. The new power unit, internally known as the 0676, isn't an evolution. It's a clean sheet design for 2026. New hybrid layout, no MGUH, a 50-50 split between electrical and combustion power, and a philosophy that stands in sharp contrast to what rivals are doing. While Mercedes and Red Bull are rumored to be pushing the limits of thermal behavior, Ferrari stepped away. No aggressive compression tricks. No attempts to squeeze extra power through heat expansion. Instead, Ferrari chose stability, predictability, and legality. That decision starts with the cylinder head. Ferrari went with steel. Heavier, less glamorous, but far more resistant to deformation when temperatures spike. It's the kind of solution engineers love and marketing teams hate. On paper, it costs performance. Internal simulations suggest a loss of a few tenths per lap on power-sensitive circuits. And in modern Formula One, that margin is enormous. You don't give that up unless you're protecting yourself from something worse. Ferrari's concern isn't Sunday pace. It's what happens on Monday morning when the FIA reviews data. Because once these engines are homologated, there's no way out. If a loophole is closed mid-season, you're stuck with what you built. Ferrari clearly believes that loophole will be closed, that the current gray area around compression and thermal behavior won't survive the first half of the season. And when that happens, teams that chase maximum power will be forced to dial things back quickly. But here's the uncomfortable part. If the FIA doesn't act, then Ferrari didn't build a safe engine. They built a slow one. And that single assumption could define whether the SF-26 becomes a masterstroke or the most expensive misread of the new era. This wasn't just a technical choice. It was a political one. Because Ferrari didn't just play it safe with the engine. They made themselves a benchmark, a trap, and maybe even a test for the FIA. Let's be clear, Ferrari didn't accidentally avoid the thermal exploit. They knew it existed. They knew what others were building. They had the capability to follow it, but they didn't. They chose to sit on the outside of the gray zone and wait for it to close. Because what Ferrari did was strategic. They launched their car first. They made their compression ratio public. They let journalists into the factory. They didn't hide. And by doing that, they forced the FIA to respond, whether they wanted to or not. Now, if the FIA does act, if they release a directive before Bahrain that tightens the combustion rules, then Ferrari becomes the team that played clean, that followed the spirit of the regulations. They're not just legal, they're vindicated. But if the FIA doesn't act, if they let the loophole live, then Ferrari has positioned themselves as the victim, the team that trusted the process and got burned. This is the other half of the SF-26 story. It's not just about speed, it's about accountability. Ferrari built a car that puts pressure on everyone else, not through performance, but through principle. And that's why this basic car is so dangerous. Because even if it's not the fastest on track, it might be the one that changes the conversation off it. This is the moment that scares Ferrari. Not the first race, not Red Bull's pace, but the silence that could come between now and Bahrain. Because if the FIA doesn't step in, if they allow the current interpretation of combustion mapping to stand, then Ferrari starts 2026 on the back foot, and there's no way to fix it. Red Bull and Mercedes will be running engines designed to exploit every thermal edge the rulebook forgot to close. And Ferrari? They'll be stuck with a clean design that was never meant to compete in that version of the game. By race 3, the gap won't just be visible. It'll be irreversible. You can't unlock horsepower mid-season when the power units are frozen. You can't rework your cylinder heads during a campaign. Once homologated, that's your engine. And if you guessed wrong, that mistake lives with you for the next 24 races. For Leclerc, this is personal. He's been waiting for a car that doesn't require miracles to be competitive. And if this one fails, not because of the car itself, but because of a political misread, that frustration could boil over fast. For Hamilton, it's something else. He didn't leave Mercedes to finish second. He came to Ferrari to close the arc, to build a legacy in red. And if this gamble backfires, that chapter ends before it even begins. But the real pressure won't fall on the drivers. It will fall on Vasseur, on Galtieri, on Serra, the men who approved the clean concept and trusted that the rulebook would protect them. Because if that trust was misplaced, this won't be remembered as a cautious approach. It'll be remembered as a surrender before the fight even started. The SF-26 is on track. It's legal. It's launched. But it hasn't been answered yet. Because what Ferrari really built wasn't just a car. It was a question. And that question hasn't been resolved. Will the FIA intervene? Will they clarify the gray zone around thermal behavior? Will they protect the spirit of the 2026 regulations? Or let innovation rewrite them again? Until that answer comes, nothing is decided. Not on paper. Not on track. Every lap Ferrari runs is now political. Not just competitive. Because this car was designed to expose the system, not to exploit it. And that kind of design only works if someone enforces the rules it was built around. If the FIA speaks before Bahrain, Ferrari wins before lights out. If they don't, the silence becomes the most powerful weapon Red Bull and Mercedes could have asked for. That's the tension. And that's why this launch matters so much more than it seemed. Because what happened on January 23rd wasn't just the start of a season. It was the start of a standoff between a team that played it clean and a sport that hasn't yet decided if that still matters.